Another day, another record, right? The Russell 2000 and Nasdaq both soaring to record closes today, with the Nasdaq extending gains for the 10th straight day. Joining me to discuss is Belpointe Asset Management's chief strategist, David Nelson. Good to see you, David.
Thanks for having me.
I'm somewhat impressed, you could say, by this market, which continually moves higher despite legitimate concerns right now that tax reform may go the way of repeal and replace. Yeah. What justifies these now quite, high levels, new records?
Well, sure, there's a lot of things. Look, sentiment can take you so far, and we certainly saw that at the end of last year. When President Trump was elected, we had a lot of hope for repatriation, tax reform, a new health care bill. But there's a lot more going on in the market with just sentiment right now. I look overseas, those markets are doing very well, and you have to remember that here in the United States, S&P 500, about 40% of earnings, 40% of revenue is derived from overseas. So that's really good news for us. That's our customers over there. They're doing well, so we're doing well.
All right, so you like the international landscape, international economic landscape.
Well, it affects us too here.
Sure.
It's good news for us.
Sure, but what also affects us is the ability or lack thereof of Washington to get any kind of reform through. You think of where we were for the last 8 years, and it was total gridlock in Washington, D.C. Hence, Bernanke, Yellen, they were the only games in town, right? The Fed had to aggressively work to pump up our economy. Well, Yellen's indicated, and rightly so, she's out of that game. So now it's up to D.C., and we're not seeing a whole lot of follow-through. Is that going to change?
We're seeing very little follow-through, and I think I can go all the way back to earlier in the year, the failure of the health care bill, first time around in the House. For portfolio managers like myself, we became kind of frustrated. We started to realize that the agenda, as good as it is going to take a lot longer than we thought.
Indeed. Well, hopefully, they're still promising this year for tax reform. We'll see whether it happens. David Nelson, good to see you. Thank you.
Tax reform is key. It's what investors want.
Agreed.